up? Guess what today is? Today's Vlogtober day 1. Woo! My second time doing Vlogtober, so I took a complete trip around the sun to be here again. I am going to be going in and out of work for a lot of these vlogs because I work, I have a job, yes, I have responsibilities. So right now I'm going to work and I'll talk to you guys after work. Goodbye! Guys, and welcome back to Vlogtober day 1. And this vlog is not consisting of much content today because I mostly work today, and this is Alley Cat here, and I miss my other Alley Cat. Hopefully she'll be on Vlogtober. Shout out to her. Shout out to Sydney as well of Wonton Productions. He's also doing Vlogtober. He's already got a Vlogtober intro out, and it's really awesome. Just watched it. Shout out to that. Go subscribe to him to watch some pretty sweet Vlogtober. He will be on my Vlogtober at some point, I'm sure, and I'll be on his at some point, so make sure to go see that. I'm going to be reading a couple of Reddit horror stories at the end of each Vlogtober just to keep it super horrific every single day of October, and that's pretty exciting. So I have a few that I saved off of Reddit, and I'm going to be reading you them in the next clip. Hey guys, so this is the end segment, and that means it's time for scary stories. So I picked out a few that I saved off Reddit. I saved them off the True Horror Stories subreddit. It only has like a few hundred people on that one, so it's not really like a super common one. Okay, story number 1. On vacation, be alert. Me and my wife were on our honeymoon in Hawaii. We were on the island of Oahu. Sitting on the beach, my wife got up to go to the bathroom, and when she got back, she told me that there was a creepy man watching her walk into the bathroom. I can definitely relate to that situation. I'm not gonna lie, it seems more common than not at times, which is very sad, but whatever. Okay. Walk into the bathroom, and when she tried to walk out, he blocked her path. Okay, I haven't dealt with that, luckily. She only got away because there were 2 other people walking into the bathroom, so he got out of the way. I asked her what the man looked like, and she looked over, but unfortunately she said he was gone. Our hotel was walking distance from the beach, so we got back quickly, but we made sure to report the man to a police officer when we saw him walking on the beach. Before going out to eat, we ate at a fancy seafood place and did some walking around afterwards. You know, there are a lot of things that happen to people when they're going on vacations to random resorts. It makes me never want to go on vacation, and I'll just stay in a hiding spot for the rest of my life, and yeah. Then we got a knock at the door. I looked through the peephole of the door and saw a man in a maid uniform standing outside. I opened the door and he immediately tried to let himself in. I pushed him back a bit, asking him what he wanted. He told me he left something in the room while cleaning earlier and needed to get it out. The only thing we left do not disturb sign on the door all day. Then I noticed he was making eye contact with my wife. Ooh. Ooh. That's so creepy. My wife then screamed, "That's the man." Ew. Ew, ew. I didn't understand at first, but it was too late for that. The man had already lunged at me, holding my throat with one hand while reaching behind himself with another. He pulled out a knife and started swinging at me, and if it weren't for my wife coming over and smashing his face in with the lamp, I'd be as good as dead. Holy shit! Throughout all of the inhabitants of the neighboring rooms, one of the women started freaking out and screaming, making the situation worse. We called the police, and so did the hotel. It turned into a huge, horrible scene, but we were just happy to be alive, and we were questioned when the police arrived, and some of the other people around us claimed to have witnessed it all. Ooh, well, at least you have witnesses, that's good. We still didn't know what kind of intentions this guy had, but if I had to guess, I would say he wanted to get to my wife. He must have been one really dumb person to think he would get away with something like this in such a public building. Ew. That's disgusting. That, ugh. No. For one, yeah, where does this guy come from? For two, who goes that far, try to kill someone to get to the female? It makes me think that it was like a human trafficking sort of thing. But you never know, it could just be some crazy lunatic that was very lonely and really wanted her for whatever reasons. But yeah, so that is story number 1. Tell me what you guys thought in the comments. Alright. Number 2 is called Chased. This happened to me only a couple of days ago. I live in an apartment complex next to a golf course in northeast Arizona. Now, I just gotten out of the hospital for a medical condition that left me bedridden for a couple of days. Now, when you're in a hospital, you meet all sorts of people. Well, I found out a person to stick out. Okay, there's some typos in here. I was a person to stick out more than the rest. Oh, I found a person that stuck out more than the rest. It was a man about 5'9". The waiting room. Okay, this person doesn't make sentences. He had a long torn up pants and a black hoodie that looked like blood stains on the wrists. He had his hood up, he was looking down so I couldn't see his face. What stuck out to me about him was his hands. They were long, bony, hands covered in dirt with jagged fingernails that looked like he had been digging for a while. Now the rest of my memory about the hospital is a blur because of the medication they gave me when I was being discharged. I could have sworn that I saw the same man sitting there outside of the hospital. My doctor advised me to rest for the next day to let my body heal, so I should have listened to him. Okay, I'm sorry if this story isn't making sense. I'm trying. After my parents had taken me back to my apartment, I slept for the rest of the day, but then couldn't fall asleep later that night. Well, no wonder. Now I live alone. There's no one to so I decided to go for a walk. I don't know what that sentence meant, but I live in a generally safe neighborhood, so I left my phone. Why would you leave your phone? If you go for a walk, bring your phone, and bring some pepper spray too, because that might help. I generally live in a safe neighborhood, blah blah blah. Now the sun went down and the lamps started coming on. The lights started coming on. And I was walking back to my apartment. I noticed someone digging in the sand trap next to the trail. I shouted at him. You're asking for a horror story at this point. Hey, you know you're not supposed to do that, right? He looked up and my blood ran cold. It says, but they spelled blood, B-R-O-O-L-D. My brold. Sounds like Dr. Steve is writing the story. It was the man that I saw from the hospital. Ooh. He had big beady eyes and the biggest grin that I ever seen. I booked it to my place all the while he's chasing right behind, screaming about God and the devil. I run up the stairs to my apartment and lock the deadbolts that are on it. I back away and seconds later I hear him hit the door full force. From that point I hear him clawing at my door. Don't you want to meet God? Only I can take you to him. This guy was insane. The scratches last for several minutes before they stopped. I take the opportunity to go to my room and grab my handgun. Oh, they've got a handgun. At least there is a handgun involved. Then she can defend herself, I guess. Next thing I know, I hear banging on my sliding glass door. The sick fuck managed to climb into my balcony on the 3rd floor. Come on, I know you want to meet him. His voice was piercing. I gathered up what courage I had and ran to my living room, gun raised. Leave me alone or I will shoot you. He saw the gun in my hand and jumped off my balcony. Okay. I run out after him and look over the railing, and he was nowhere to be seen. The next morning I looked at my front door, and there are claw marks gouged out at about the height from that night, and the hole that he made in the sand trap was filled in. I don't know who he was or why he was trying to kill me, but I hope I never see him again. I no longer take walks at night or leave without my handgun. And someone says, wow, as a comment. Okay. I'm not gonna try to sound too insensitive here, but it just sounds like, I don't know, it doesn't really sound very real to me. I think, I don't know, maybe I'm just being too skeptical, but I need receipts for that one. Last story is called Seeing is Believing. I have always been fascinated by the supernatural and unexplained, me too, but was never 100% a believer until I moved into this old remodeled apartment. Some of the things that happened I still can't stop thinking about. About 2 years back, I've decided to move into an apartment with my friend from college. Seems reasonable. For now, I will refer to her as V. We found a nice 2-bedroom near our dorm for a decent price and decided to ask my friend, we'll call her S, to join with us. S and I moved into the apartment about a month earlier than V and spent most of our days on opposite shifts for work. One of the first times I was alone in the apartment, I was sitting in our closet folding laundry and arranging some things. Our closet had no door and was most likely an open office space at some point, so it was blatantly open to the hall leading to V's bedroom on one end and the bathroom on the other. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw something small and black dart from the bedroom end of the hallway towards V's room. I had been used to living in a house with animals, so my mind instinctively went to, oh, it's just a cat, until I remembered I was in my own apartment now and we had no cats. I got up to look, but saw nothing and honestly thought nothing of it. However, the next day, while I was working, S gave me a panicked saying that she saw something small and black dart from the exact same place I'd seen it the night before. Ooh, creepy. Keep in mind, I had not told her about the experience because I didn't think it was a big deal. Over the next few days and weeks to follow, stranger things began to happen. One afternoon I was alone at the apartment cooking dinner while S was at work. She wasn't meant to be home until about 6 p.m. The entrance to our apartment was around a corner and a long hallway from the kitchen. I swore I heard S call my name from the front door. Figuring she may have forgotten her key, I started to walk towards the hallway only to freeze as quickly as I looked at the time on my phone. I texted S asking why she was home so early and she simply said, "I'm still at work, ? Completely freaked out, I ran to my room and stayed put until she came home. Once V finally moved in with us, things got even weirder. I had kind of experiences where I feel like I hear things, but I just think it's my imagination because thinking that it's an actual spirit, like, talking or trying to get my attention just freaks me out a lot. I know it's definitely, like, a real thing, but, to acknowledge it, I feel like it makes it happen more, so, but also at the same time I use that ghost radar to do, like, EVPs, so, yeah, I don't know, I guess it's just, there's a time and a place for everything, and stayed put until she came home. Once V finally moved in with us, things got weirder. Our friend, I'll refer to him as R, lived with us for a few weeks during that summer so that he could get his summer classes easier. S and I decided that we would not tell V or R about the events to see if they would say anything on their own. Sure enough, a few days later, R was left at the apartment alone briefly, and when S got back, R said that my guitar had started strumming itself from the other room. Okay, that would freak me out. At that point, we decided to tell them everything. Every night seemed to get progressively worse. We would hear voices that sounded like each other from when we weren't home. A black figure kept appearing in the same spot in that hallway, although always moving quickly from the bathroom towards V's room. One night, while R was sleeping on the couch in the living room, S and I awoke to a loud crash in the kitchen. Assuming it was just R getting up to get something, we just went back to sleep. When I talked to him about it, he had asked if I had moved the doorknob that was sitting in the packaging on our counter. Our counter is slightly inclined, so it's very hard for anything to roll off. We had just bought a new doorknob for one of the bedrooms, and the packaging to it was completely sealed. Apparently, when R had been awoken by the crash, he went to the kitchen only to find the doorknob in bits on the kitchen floor when the package ripped open. Another night, when S was sick, she had been sitting in our shower, throwing up and trying to feel better. Later in the evening, she went back into the bedroom only to hear a mocking gag come from behind the shower curtain, and she sprinted onto the couch, shaking tremendously. Ooh, that's so creepy. As things just seemed to keep getting more and more strange, we started to smell sulfur or something burning waft through the apartment every so often. S and I were slightly superstitious and knew that this wasn't a good sign and eventually indication of a bad presence. Again, smelled the scent around the apartment. V's dad came over to help us bring some groceries in and things. S and V were telling him about the events in our apartment. He mentioned that maybe we should talk to a priest. I don't know what came over me, but to this day it still horrifies me to think how unbelievably enraged I got in that instance. My face turned red and my hands were shaking. My fingers clenched so tightly on the grocery bags that they were turning white. S looked at me while V talked to her dad and was immediately scared. "Are you okay?" I remember asking her. "No," I just said sternly, and I walked inside the apartment to calm down and get away from him. In that instance, I knew I wanted to hurt him badly. I'm not a violent person. I have nothing against religion. S came upstairs after me and to calm me down, but I was so enraged I couldn't speak. She said that the look in my eye wasn't right. I had to stay in my room for about an hour until I passed it, but I was horrified. I almost cried out of fear when it was over. Needless to say, S and I ended up cutting out leash short and letting V's cousin move into our place. V didn't seem bothered by all of the happening, so she was fine staying. Shortly after leaving, I remember having a conversation with S about how it was strange that we got into such a nice 2-bedroom apartment, completely remodeled for so cheap. It made us curious as to whether there had been problems there with previous tenants or a previous tenant had died. I had always been too nervous to ask to find out for sure. I've never been happier to be living back at home after all of that terror. After all of that terror, that is pretty creepy, but that sounds like the guy pretty much got possessed, which is really weird. It's like, how does one know that they're possessed? I don't know. You guys tell me down in the comments, and leave a comment telling me what you think. Thanks for sticking around for Vlogtober Day 1. So hopefully we'll get a lot of my friends, you know, like my bandmates. Shout out to my band. Shout out to all the bands that I played with in this past month. It's been an awesome month of shows, and I've had a really awesome time, met great people, and most of all, had fun with my band. And yeah, shout out to you guys. Shout out Secrets of Skeletons. So hopefully we'll see a bunch of familiar faces during Vlogtober, and subscribe if you are new to this channel. And yeah, so hopefully you guys will enjoy every day of Vlogtober, and yeah, I'll see you next time.